Hello, I'm Vernell Fuller, your host today for In Your Ward. On today's show, first we're going to sit down and talk with Alderman Jeffrey Boyd. Then we're going out into the community where the alderman will show us some projects along MLK Drive and other areas providing a new look and new energy in the 22nd Ward. Thank you for joining us. I'm here with Alderman Jeffrey Boyd of the 22nd Ward. Alderman Boyd, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Now, you've been alderman of the 22nd Ward since 2003. What made you decide to become an alderman?
Well, back in 2002, I felt that I could do a better job. I felt I was being underrepresented and that the community was being underserved. And rather than sit back and complain about it, I thought I would do something about it. So I decided to go ahead and run for political office to see if I can make a difference.
Okay. Now, as an alderman, you were pretty much on the clock all the time. How do you balance that with family time?
Well, it's very difficult, and quite honestly, I don't do a good job at balancing the family time. Unfortunately, my family, oftentimes get the short end of the stick as far as my time. However, this year I'm doing a much better job at that. I'm trying to make sure I'm home by a certain time so I can watch my daughter grow up, because they grew up real fast. Sure. She's in the 8th grade this year, and just making sure that I spend that quality time, because I don't do a good job.
How does your wife feel about that?
My wife is basically a saint in that department, because she has a lot of patience, and I really appreciate her putting up with the fact that I do spend so much time outside the home on constituent services.
Okay. What are some of the key challenges that you have in your ward?
Some of the key challenges that we have in the 22nd Ward is far too many vacant buildings and vacant lots and not enough retail. And which is something that we've been focusing on quite a bit lately, is taking advantage. While some people may say, it looks devastating, it looks like Beirut, a bomb was dropped off, I look at it as an opportunity. We have so much vacant land and vacant buildings that it's a great opportunity for development.
Okay. In your ward, the 22nd Ward, what is it that you're most proud of?
Wow, I am most proud of the Arlington Grove redevelopment project, which is a $34 million housing development we put together about 2004. I sat down with some stakeholders and we started planning. I have to give a lot of kudos out to the planning department, Diane and Daphne Moore. We sat down, we strategically looked at the area, we put some preliminary plans together, we worked with the residents, and back in 2010 we were actually able to assemble a team together to make this project a masterpiece inside the 22nd Ward. It has 112 residential units, 7,500 square feet of commercial space, and a beautiful restored school, which is called Arlington School.
I'm sure you're very proud of that.
Absolutely.
Now tell me about the transformation of Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard.
Well, the transformation of Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard was a long process. It's a process that we're still working on, but some of the infrastructure improvements that we've been able to do is new sidewalks and curbs. We've put some nice new pedestrian lights in from basically Arlington to the city limits, which are some phenomenal lights, even though we may not have the wonderful buildings sitting behind them. I mean, people are always amazed at night when they come down Martin Luther King and they see these beautiful lights. We've also torn down quite a few dangerous buildings, but then there's the rebuilding. We have Friendly Temple, who has rebuilt an $8 million edifice right on the opposite corner of Martin Luther King and Bird from the Arlington Grove redevelopment. We have a couple of nightclubs or social clubs down in the 5900 block of Martin Luther King, in an area that most people had written off. So we're making incremental improvements, and I project over the next 10 years that we'll do even better. People will be proud of the way Martin Luther King looks in the 22nd Ward over the next 10 years.
Well, I'm happy to hear that, and I'm also glad that you mentioned Friendly Temple. How has your partnership with Friendly Temple impacted the transformation of Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard?
Well, certainly having a partner like Friendly Temple has been an incredible opportunity. Friendly Temple basically has been the catalyst for a lot of the development that has started on Martin Luther King in the 5,500 blocks, which is where their church is. Back in 2003, when I became alderman, they had just commissioned the opening of a senior citizen building off of Wells and Bird Avenue, and 3 years later, they opened up a new facility. They've created a daycare. They've, again, rebuilt the edifice. They have a banquet hall that's coming soon. So because of the energy that they were putting into Martin Luther King, it created this sense of synergy. So the Arlington Grove project just was like a no-brainer for anyone who wants to reinvest or invest in that particular neighborhood because there was a lot of strength there.
Alderman Boyd, I'm going to ask you this. Any idea why it is that in most major cities, Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard is like the worst street in most major metropolises?
Well, I have my theory, and of course my opinion is my own, but I think when you're looking at changing the name of a street, that has a lot of history. For example, Martin Luther King Boulevard was Eastern Avenue.
I remember.
When I was a kid growing up. So that Wellston Shopping District, people remember going to Eastern Avenue. And unfortunately, what you'll find, you know, looking through archives or stories about MLK across the whole country is that they're in depressed sections of the city. So if you're going to do a name change, you know, the least resistance you would get is in a socially economic depressed community. And while on one hand, people are saying, yay, that's great, you know, on the other end, it's not so great because it doesn't represent what the man truly stood for.
Sure.
The man stood for, you know, gaining civil rights and moving out of the struggle. But when you look at Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard across the country, even in my neighborhood, although there are significant improvements, it still looks like the struggle continues.
Now, you have in your ward some challenges. Let's talk about the crime in your ward.
Well, actually, I'm happy to say crime is down. And crime is down, of course, in the whole city. But, you know, one murder, one burglary, one whatever it is one too many. The crime in our neighborhood is, it's a challenge, but it's getting better. You know, I don't look at it the way I did 10 or 15 years ago when there seemed to be a murder every other month, every couple of weeks or so on and so forth. The police department have done a great job at reducing the crime and violence in my neighborhoods. And I can just toot my horn on that. I don't focus on the fact that crime is high. I mean, crime is high no matter where you go. Like, again, you know, one is one too many. But if you look at statistics in the 22nd Ward in the Wells Goodfellow Hamilton Heights neighborhood, crime has been steadily declining every year.
Well, let me bring it a little more close to home. How have you, as Alderman of the 22nd Ward, attempted to address the issue of crime?
Well, one of the things that I do is I have a monthly ward meeting, the last Thursday of every month at Friendly Temple Church from 6 to 7:30, and that's an opportunity to empower people. We have on average 40 to 50 people that come regularly every month, and we talk about issues and we talk about how we can best solve them. We have the police there. They know the issues, they know the concerns, and they're great partners to work with. I mean, every issue that we brought up, they've been willing to deal with it. We've also been blessed back in 2007 to be part of a special crime initiative. It was a Wells Goodfellow initiative where the police came in with the DEA, the ATF, every alphabet agency you could think about there, and they made a significant difference in the crime, getting a lot of the guns off the street in that neighborhood.
How did they go about getting the guns off the street?
Well, they were relentless at tracking the criminals.
Okay.
They were absolutely relentless. And then the partnership with the residents, being willing to speak up and tell who's who and who's doing what, significantly helped.
Do you think a gun buyback program would be effective?
You know, I'm not in law enforcement. I'm not sure. You know, that's not something I've tracked. I think it's a great opportunity to get some extra cash, but guns are far too easily accessible to these young people today. They sell a gun to you today, and next week they have a nicer gun. You know, so I don't know how effective it is, and that's just honestly, and I'm not the best person to speak on that because I don't know what the statistic looks like. I mean, it's a feel good, but as far as the effectiveness, I'm not sure.
Okay. You have certainly got some progress and some accomplishments under your belt. What are some of the things that keep you up at night?
Things that keep me up at night, there's not a lot that keep me up at night. When I'm ready to go to sleep, I'm going to sleep, and I'm with confidence that, you know, whatever happens out there, we have quality emergency management people out there protecting our city to do the best job that they can do. I just want my community be a vibrant community, a community that it once was when I was a kid growing up. I live on a street that I grew up on. I mean, I am totally connected to the neighborhood that I represent. My wife and I, back in 1992, we made a conscious decision to move back into the neighborhood that we grew up on. I met her on that block. I was 12, she was 10. When I got out the military, I said, I want to go back to my neighborhood and I want to make a difference. And so we did a housing redevelopment project. We moved in. It was a wonderful project. We were so excited and enthusiastic. We decided to buy a house on the corner up the street from us in a foreclosure. We rehabbed that house. That's what we call home today. We decided that we would send our kids to St. Louis public schools, support our public school system. But it was more than just sending them to school and expecting the educators to educate them. It was being a part of their educational process, which we were. And we're fortunate that, you know, we have some pretty good kids that graduated and moving on to be very successful.
I've read their bios. You have to be proud.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about your military experience. Number one, thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
And how have those leadership skills that you may have been trained on during your time in the Army, how have those assisted you in being a successful alderman?
Well, it's been absolutely critical and important and a blessing that I've served 23 years. And what I've gained from the military is, number one, commitment. Mm-hmm. Commitment, not having the courage to do what's right, discipline, which is critically important, and just leadership in general, making sure that people's voices are heard. That's why I'm so passionate about empowering people, because we get more done when we work together as a team. Mm-hmm. And the military taught me that no matter what background you've come from, no matter what your educational level is, we all need each other, and we all have a role to play in this success, and failure is never an option. And so I conduct myself, and I hope that people see me as a leader who has courage, who's unafraid to take on the tough tasks, who's unafraid to say some things that really needs to be said, and somebody who gets the job done.
Okay, okay. With that being said, how do your constituents assist you in you accomplishing your goals and objectives? Do you have major participation, or do you find yourself having to lead them to your goals and objectives?
No, everything I do is about constituent participation. I rarely make a decision that's going to affect our community without input. And I'm fortunate that every month from January to October that I have a minimum of 40 to 50 people that attend the ward meetings. So we talk about what's going on in the neighborhood, and I solicit ideas. And I also ask them to volunteer to help out, to be part of this process, because, you know, one of my biggest saying to my constituents when they tend to put so much on me mm-hmm. is that I'm only one man. I'm not Superman. And I can't do it by myself, and I need you to help me. And they embrace that, and they're willing to help me. And if you come to ward meetings, you know, oftentimes you have someone new that complains about different things. It would be somebody that comes to meetings all the time that would challenge them and say, well, where have you been? We've been talking about this for years, or we've been working on this. You know, here's what I've seen in my neighborhood. Someone else say, well, this is what I've seen on my particular block. And that is what partnership is all about. You know, that is what empowering your residents are all about. And what's really important is something that I had a valuable lesson taught to me last week, is that everybody's input counts, whether you agree with it or not. Mm-hmm. A good leader does not have to, how do I want to say this? You know, leadership is also about making sure people are heard. And that's critical and very important. And what happened to me last week is I came across an award meeting as if I was dismissive at a recommendation somebody made. It was an outrageous, to me, recommendation about legalizing prostitution. Now, I certainly don't support that. But what I found is that my behavior and making that constituent feel that she was not heard triggered her to call me immediately after the meeting to talk to me about that. We talked about it for about a half an hour. I said, although I don't agree with that, I'm willing to elevate the conversation. And so we took the conversation to a different level. The biggest thing I got out of that is I had not empowered her. And if I dismissed her in the way that she felt dismissed, I would not have participants or residents participating and willing to offer suggestions, because they would say, well, if Alderman Boyd doesn't like it, it'll never happen. And that's not right.
Well, I want to assure you, as we wrap up this last minute we have, that from this interview, the media is not going to say Alderman Boyd is trying to promote legalization of prostitution. I just want you to take comfort in that.
I appreciate that.
Okay. When we come back, we are going to take a look at some of the improvements that Alderman Boyd has made in the 22nd Ward, which he is so proud of. Stay tuned. For 11 years, Jeffrey Boyd has served as alderman of the 22nd Ward in St. Louis. His challenges have strengthened his commitment here. His triumphs cemented it. The 22nd Ward contains all or parts of Hamilton Heights, Mark Twain I-70 Industrial, Wells, Goodfellow, and the West End. Alderman Boyd serves on 5 committees: Public Safety, Public Utilities, Public Employees, Streets, Traffic, and Refuse, and Engrossment Rules, Resolutions, and Credentials, where he is chair. Though Alderman Boyd racks up a number of successful projects in his ward, one project involving an old abandoned school and a bunch of naysayers began his major challenge.
People told me several years ago that it would take 15 to 20 years before we could get major development like this in my ward. And that was unacceptable to me. That would mean that we would wait 15 years after waiting 30 years.
If the alderman had listened to those doubters, St. Louisans would have missed out on the historic renovation of the old Arlington Elementary School, which laid vacant and run down for years. Now it provides amazing loft-style apartments and townhomes, all part of what is now called the Arlington Grove community.
But what we were able to do in partnership with McCormick and Baron Salazar, the St. Louis Housing Authority, we were able to put a team of people together. State of Missouri kicked in with tax credits, extorts tax credits from the federal government, and the city of St. Louis, and put a $37 million housing development together. The church was some of the beginning of that. Just to the south of us, we have the Friendly Temple Village Apartments. It's over 100 residential apartment units for senior citizens. This brand new $6+ million edifice right here at the corner of Martin Luther King and Bird Avenue.
Though humbled, Alderman Boyd jokingly points out a plaque dedicated to him, embedded near the entrance doors of the Arlington Grove complex.
Hey, can you get a close-up shot of this right here? Huh? Can you see? It says dedicated.
Let's get that. Let's get that. Yeah. But where he doesn't find humor, he finds crime, and it's the most pressing of concerns in his ward.
When I wake up in the morning, I'll listen to the news, and if I hear there's been another shooting, I just say, man, please don't be in my ward. You know, please don't be in my ward. I want to make sure that people feel safe in the 22nd Ward. And it's a challenge when you have this madness going on out in our community. And I don't think we've spent as a community enough time talking about the cycle of poverty. We have some people out here that are committing, crimes because they're just trying to survive. They're homeless. They're abused in their homes. I mean, there are a lot of deep-rooted issues that we don't know about. And all we can do right now is talk about what is presenting itself on the surface.
It's for that reason he fought so hard to improve areas along Martin Luther King Drive, including eliminating a dumping ground that once existed where this Crown gas station now stands just across from the Arlington Grove apartments.
And back in 2007, I was able to convince the partners with Crown Mart to consider putting a gas station here just to give us a small sign of economic development, along Martin Luther King.
It's that initiative that served Alderman Boyd well over the years, when he looks to attract new businesses to his ward and serve the ones he already has.
It's extremely important that businesses are located in the 22nd Ward to stabilize our community because it creates jobs. It brings money into the city of St. Louis, money into our community. I'm excited about several businesses in the 22nd Ward hire local people. A lot of people from the city of St. Louis right over here in the Union 70 Industrial Park live in the city of St. Louis.
Part of that stabilization comes in the form of Valacor Environmental Service. The company has been around since 1998, but just opened in St. Louis last January. Located in the old GM plant at 5450 Brown Avenue, it's 100% employee-owned.
What does that Valacor do? What is that you want people to know about what you do?
What I want people to know about Valacor is that actually it's a company that takes people's waste, recycles it, so other people think that it's, instead of it going to a landfill, for instance, we will take other people's stuff, for instance, like wastewater, oil. So when you get your oil changed at, say, Jiffy Lube or something like that, we we would take that and recycle it. So it doesn't, we actually are helping the environment and keeping stuff like that out of the sewer systems, out of the landfills. All right, so we take wastewater and waste oil that's been used for some other purpose. So we'll take a tanker truck, we'll back it in here, we'll offload it into these tanks.
Okay.
We'll heat it up. What we're trying to do is we're getting that oil out of the water. And in return, we take the oil, we put it back on the market, so we recycle it.
Saving resources is not Valicor's only mission. The company is helping save ex-offenders, too, from the streets.
One of the things that impressed me is I was told that you guys embrace, hiring people from the community, and you believe in second chances. Tell me a little bit more about that.
I believe everyone deserves a second chance. I was given a second chance, and I believe that everyone can change if they want to. And we actually I worked with Mission St. Louis, and got a gentleman out of there that was incarcerated at one point, and he did job training, and I helped do the job training there. So we got him here now. He's doing a good job. He's working hard, and I'm happy to have him on my team.
Another business equally impressive in Alderman Boyd's ward is the famous Goody Goody Diner. More than 65 years ago, the Goody Goody sign went up and visitors poured in, keeping workers on their feet, serving everyone from local residents and celebrities to former Vice President Al Gore. The Goody Goody, Richard, is a landmark in St. Louis. Tell us about the history of it.
Well, Vern, 1931 was the first time there was a food establishment on this corner. It was the first in St. Louis, A&W Rupert Stand, from 1931 to 1948.
Wow.
And the end of the season in 1948 for the A&W Rupert Stand, it was only open in the summertime. They tore the walls out, expanded it to where the area we're standing in right now, and opened up the Goody Goody in November of 1948.
Richard Connolly's father took over the Goody Goody in 1954. He's run the business himself for 47 years. And though Connolly recently sold it to another family, he looks back with great fondness.
Proud of the heritage, proud of the work that Mom and Dad put into this place. They took, from what I understand, everything that they had to buy this little place in 1954. My dad retired from Walgreen Drug Company and used his, he didn't really retire, he didn't want to move farther out. And bought this in 1954. This is a place that blacks, whites, rich, poor, everybody can come and feel at home, welcome. So that means a lot to me. It means a lot to our staff.
And when residents aren't gathering at the Goody Goody, they're at popular community events like the 22nd Ward Reunion Picnic.
St. Louis, I'm Alderman Jeffrey Boyd, representing the 22nd Ward here in the city of St. Louis. We're out here in Barrett Brothers Park today, enjoying ourselves. This is the 3rd annual 22nd Ward Reunion.
The picnic is packed with loads of activities, food, music, displays, and horse rides. You can even catch Alderman Boyd playing reporter as he talks to some of his constituents.
Oh, man, I think it's lovely doing something for the neighborhood, everybody getting out, getting their shine on, nice day, beautiful thing. Okay.
Holding the annual event in Barrett Brothers Park is also a thrill because it's an opportunity for the aldermen to show the park's recent improvements. There is a new pavilion with brick columns, new areas for checkers and chess games, and a trail for walkers and bike riders.
But my idea in my community when it comes to redevelopment, how can we redevelop our community where people say, wow, where did that come from, or how did they do that? That's what I'm interested in. So I'm proud of the MLK corridor and how we really cleaned it up.
Alderman Boyd says there is much more he wants to do but needs help from citizens whom he'd like to see at the ward meetings, held the last Tuesday of every month. It's crucial, he says, to improving the community, battling crime, and keeping residents informed about the issues that affect their lives. That's In Your Ward. I'm Vernell Fuller for STL TV.